4 persons killed in Ondo Bank robbery. INEC deregisters 74 political parties. In international news, post-Brexit worries grip UK businesses. And in sport, Oyinlomo Quadri goes stronger at the International Tennis Federation Junior Grade 3 tournament.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. 4 persons, including 2 policemen, were killed when armed robbers attacked 2 banks in Ile-Oluji, Ondo State. Sources say armed robbers invaded the banks in the afternoon, shooting sporadically. 2 stray bullets hit and killed the victims. Eyewitnesses said the robbers forced their way into the bank, breaking down security doors with dynamite. Armed robbers carted away from the banks an undisclosed amount of money. Police Public Relations Officer Femi Joseph said policemen had been deployed to the scene of the attack. President Muhammadu Buhari has launched 2 new combat fighter jets as part of his administration's efforts to end banditry, kidnappings, and Boko Haram insurgency. The president said this at inauguration of the 2 helicopters in Abuja. The president said he is certain insecurity will reduce drastically with a committed and re-equipped armed forces in support of Nigerians.
On record that these additional platforms have contributed immensely to the Air Force's successes and decimation of Boko Haram insurgents. We are committed to taking the right steps in achieving the desired results. We shall ensure that every sector of our nation experiences the change that we have promised.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has registered 74 political parties, leaving 18 political parties on the chart. INEC's chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, says the deregistered political parties have failed to meet requirements for party registration. Among the deregistered parties are the National Conscience Party, established by the late human rights lawyer Gani Fawaimi, Kowa Party, and the United People's Party. They also include Pastor Chris Okoti's Fresh Democratic Party, People's Trust, the Advanced Allied Party, the All Blending Party, the Advanced Congress of Democrats, the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, and Alliance for Democracy.
The Commission has determined that 16 political parties have fulfilled the requirements for existence based on Section 225A of the 1999 Constitution as amended as follows.
After so much uproar about Okada and tricycles ban in some parts of Lagos, some residents are appealing to the governor to at least reapprove tricycles and keep the ban on Okada. They say banning both Okada and tricycles had brought severe pains to millions of daily commuters. They say the number of new buses in the city is not enough to cover all the destinations and routes kekes had serviced. Meanwhile, 2-time Lagos former Governor Babajide Raji Fashola, who is now Minister of Works and Housing, has waded into the Okada storm and expressed his support for the ban. Fashola expressed his support on Thursday in Lagos at a public lecture organized by the United Nations for Change. Fashola said any government that is serious about the security of its people knows eradication of motorcycles is very important and must be supported by the residents. The minister says as a center of excellence, Okada cannot be part of the state's plan as a serious means of transportation for its people. Fashola had also banned Okada during his administration.
Coming up, African stories. Tunisians take to the streets in protest against Trump's Middle East peace plan. And later, international news. Post-Brexit worries grip UK businesses.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. On the African scene, let's start this segment with an update on ongoing efforts by African countries to forestall the spread of coronavirus on the continent. Uganda's Ministry of Health says more than 100 persons who arrived at Entebbe International Airport from China are being quarantined for 14 days to prevent the possible spread of coronavirus. Minister of Health, Dr. Jane Isong, says 44 of those quarantined are Chinese nationals. She also said the ministry was not aware of any Ugandan who is either suspected or confirmed to have coronavirus. Uganda has intensified screening at its major border points. It is now also mandatory for all travelers from China to provide personal details for follow-up visits by health workers. Meanwhile, Ghana health officials said they were investigating 2 suspected cases of coronavirus in the capital, Accra, involving 2 men, a Chinese and an Argentinian, who lived together but traveled on different dates from China. Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association in Accra, Dr. William Barr, said both patients have been quarantined and their blood samples are being analyzed. And Kenya has continued the screening of all passengers arriving from China or any countries where the virus had been identified. Both Kenya Airways and Ethiopian Airways have frequent flights to and from China every week. Coronavirus has killed more than 500 persons and at least 28,000 cases have been diagnosed. Still on coronavirus in Africa, Somalia has expressed solidarity with China as it battles the novel coronavirus. Health officials in the country say they have placed all ports of entry on high alerts to contain the spread of the virus. We get the story from Abdulaziz Bilo in Mogadishu.
A heightened response has been put in place at Mogadishu's Aden Abdullah, the biggest airport in Somalia, over the coronavirus concerns. Health officials say the measure has been enforced at all ports of entry, with passengers subjected to screening before being allowed to enter the country.
We are jointly working on monitoring and identifying any potential threats with the relevant ministries of health, civil aviation, as well as our immigration department. We have increased and continue to increase the capacity of our health officials at all ports of entry.
The Somali government says its focus is international airlines coming in from several Middle Eastern and African countries. Airports under regional administrations have also been urged to create emergency response centers to report any suspected cases.
We have increased alert at all major ports of entry. Our security forces, immigration officials and airport management. We will enact a series of procedures that must be followed by all airlines and passengers to contain the ongoing threat.
Somalia has not recorded any cases so far, but vows to ensure that all incoming flights are properly checked to prevent individuals carrying the virus from entering the country. Meanwhile, the Somali mission in China says that all 50 Somali citizens residing in Wuhan, the epicenter of the virus, are all in good condition, with none of them affected by the coronavirus. On Monday, Somalia's Foreign Affairs Minister Ahmed Isa Awad hosted the Chinese ambassador to Somalia, Xinjiang, at his residence. Awad also assured the ambassador of his country's solidarity with China as it confronts the coronavirus.
Hundreds of Tunisians have registered their opposition to U.S. President Donald Trump's new Middle East plan. Palestinian leaders failed to attend the unveiling ceremony in Washington last week, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was right by Trump's side for the presentation. Adnan Chawaji reports on the Tunis protest.
The labor union is Tunisia's most powerful syndicate, with over 1 million workforce. The union called for mass protests across the country against Donald Trump's Middle East peace plan.
The Palestinian quest for freedom is a noble cause. Trump's crazy behavior and irrational decisions are rejected. We also condemn some Arab rulers' attachment to Trump policies, which will wreak havoc in the region.
Tens of thousands of unionists, students, as well as human rights and peace activists marched against the U.S. administration's plan.
We reject any form of normalization of ties with Israel because the lands of the Palestinians were seized by force. The so-called U.S. peace plan is immoral, inhuman, and pushes for violence in the occupied territories.
The National Bar Association joined the protest. Over 8,000 lawyers slammed the Trump peace plan and rallied in front of the courthouse in Tunis.
The US president does not respect international law, recognizing Al-Quds as the capital of the Zionist regime and stealing more Palestinian land. This plan is not a deal, but rather the theft and continued injustice of the century.
Tunisians from all political affiliations and parties protested on Wednesday. President Kais Saied criticized the deal of the century, the new U.S. plan for peace between Israel and the Palestinians, calling it the injustice of the century. The plan has received widespread rejection by the Palestinians over its complete bias to the Israeli occupation.
The House of the People's Representatives has also rejected the deal of the century, while denouncing the process initiated by US President Donald Trump. Tunisian Parliament Speaker has urged Arab states and Arab parliaments to take position.
When we return, international news. Post-Brexit worries grip UK businesses. And later, sport. Oyinlamo Quadri goes stronger at the International Tennis Federation Junior Grade 3 tournament.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to foreign stories. China has sliced in half tariffs and $75 billion worth of U.S. products as a reciprocal move for this plan announced last month by U.S. President Donald Trump to cut in half tariffs on more than $100 billion of Chinese goods.
Beijing says it will have tariffs on $75 billion worth of American goods from February 14th. The measure covers goods with tariffs of 10% and 5% imposed last September. And the products affected include fresh seafood, poultry, and soybeans. There are also items such as tungsten lamps for medical use and some types of aircraft. It's a response to U.S. measures reducing tariffs on Chinese goods, which are to come into effect the same day.
The United Kingdom has only been a former European Union member for just about a week, and already businesses are experiencing concern about uncertainty in many areas. They're not sure how some things would work and even how to get workers to fill certain jobs other Europeans used to do. As Juliet Mann reports, even finding housekeepers for simple hotel work could prove difficult.
The frames are welded by expert braziers. The finished product is assembled by hand. This London factory rolls out 50,000 fold-up bikes a year. Special editions like the new electric model have been good for business, helping sales and profits ride higher.
Undoubtedly, the biggest market for e-bikes is Europe. So for us, it's very important that we are successful in Germany, Netherlands, France, Spain, Belgium, all the major markets. We wouldn't want, a disruption to the supply chain.
Brompton Bicycles planned early to avoid getting in a spin. Contingencies included stockpiling £1 million worth of bike parts and steel components. And the firm is stepping up a gear.
Brompton has set the wheels in motion for battery-aided bikes like these to make up half the business in the next decade. The goal is to double production in the next 5 years, if Brexit doesn't get in the way.
As the UK opens the door on a new wave of global trade negotiations, businesses puzzle what it means for products, services and people.
I really worry for us and any hospitality business that needs cleaners, where we're going to find the people who want to do those jobs if we don't have talent coming from outside of the UK. The government has warned there will not be future alignment with EU rules.
For firms like short-let accommodation service under the doormat, that could erode opportunities in the UK over time.
It's just not good enough. It's not good enough that there aren't plans. It's not good enough that we're exiting without clarity of what this means for businesses. As we expand to other markets, we don't know what that regulation is going to look like. We don't know whether we're going to have to set up different legal entities, how that's all going to play out.
The UK government says a future trading relationship with the EU will be settled by the end of 2020. But businesses don't want to freewheel to the end of the year.
Thailand is experiencing one of the driest weather periods in recent memory. Drought has already devastated rice fields all over the country, forcing farmers to abandon this year's crop. But predictions that conditions could persist for up to 6 more months. Agricultural communities all over Thailand are worried. Reporter Dusita Saukagyo has the story from Bangkok.
A canal with no water. This could be the clearest sign yet that Thailand is facing a drought crisis. Droughts are a norm in Thailand. The country has been battling with seasonal drought for decades, but this year is different. Experts say that this could be the worst in decades.
We are facing the worst drought in 20 to 40 years. It will become more and more severe as we head into March, April and May, when Thailand is hottest. If we do not make preparations, it will be a very serious problem for the country.
This year, the dry season came earlier than usual and it is predicted to be a prolonged one. 14 large dams held less than 30% of their combined capacity. A major concern as Thailand is only about 2 months into its usual dry season and reservoir levels are already low.
The drought situation across nearly half of Thailand is predicted to get worse, with the government warning 31 provinces to prepare for severe drought. This dry spell imperils crop production and rural demand in a nation where 11 million people work in the agricultural industry. Signs of water wars are beginning to appear.
As rivers and dams dry up, groundwater emerges as new battleground in the fight for water. Farmers in Chachen Sao, one of Thailand's rice-growing provinces, are becoming increasingly desperate for water to irrigate their parched fields. So desperate, farmers are fighting over this precious resource.
Everyone here is desperate. Factories are not facing shortages like we are. Farmers cannot get water from anywhere. Imagine the cost of fertilizer and pesticides. We feel helpless.
But it is not only rural Thailand that should be concerned. Some residents of Bangkok can literally taste the risk of potentially damaging drought. The capital's tap water became saline as seawater pushed up the depleted Chao Phraya River, a source of much of central Thailand's water. Thai authorities are trucking drinking water to parts of Bangkok and urging residents to shower less as a worsening drought and rising sea levels have increased salinity.
When rivers have less water, seawater come in. When rivers have more water, seawater is pushed out. At the moment, water in the river is very low, so we have a problem with salt intrusion. It will get worse.
Farmers are worried. Industries are worried. Rural Thailand feeling helpless, considering the essentiality of water and the implications of who gets the last drop.
Up next, sport. Oyinlomo Quadri goes stronger at the International Tennis Federation Junior Grade 3 tournament. Please stay with us.
And now to sports news. Super Eagles former striker and newly signed Manchester United striker Odion Ighalo will earn 1.4 billion naira during a 6-month loan spell. Ighalo is currently undergoing a personal fitness program this week to get up to speed. He arrived in Manchester from China last Sunday. Oyinlomo Quadri is yet to drop a set in her quest for glory at International Tennis Federation Junior Grade 3 tournament in Pretoria, South Africa. The 16-year-old is still in her strongest form as the national junior champion hit the finals of the singles and doubles events of the tournament. Quadra demolished her Tunisian opponent 6-0, 6-2 to remain one of the players that have not dropped a set in the competition. She will take on Nahia Berakoutier of France at the finals. We wish her success in her bid. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Enjoy your weekend.